What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Daniel, this is my brother Jesus, and we got an awesome video for you guys. We're going to compare my second generation NA Toyota MR2 to his first generation 1995 Mazda Miata. This car here is a 1993 MR2, as I said. Excuse the dirty engine bay, but it is NA. Now the car is completely stock with the exception of the rims.
So what we have right here that we're comparing this MR2 to is a 1995 M-Edition Mazda Miata with a 1.8 liter engine. Everything about the car is bone stock, from anything that has to do with the engine, wheels, obviously not tires, but the wheels are 15-inch BBS wheels that are 185 55/15s.
So the reason we're comparing these two cars is pretty simple. They're actually very similar. So the MR2 is an NA car, 4-cylinder, 5-speed. It's a lightweight, sports car. It weighs around 20. Obviously it depends how it's trimmed, but I've seen them realistically weigh anywhere from like 26 to 28. Again, that comes down to how the car is spec'd out and what you have in it. The Miata is pretty similar too. 5-speed, 4-cylinder, rear-wheel drive. They weigh low 2,000 pounds.
It's like 23, 24 roughly.
Okay, well, so if we're wrong, someone will correct us. So very, very similar, but the big difference is the MR2's mid-engine, your car's front engine. Also, the price points are actually very, very similar, at least in Oregon where we are at, and they're appreciating in price, both of these cars. Because a few years ago, realistically, the cars we have would go for, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000,
$3,000 if it's a really nice one.
Yeah, and now people are asking 10 to 15 for the really, really nice examples. To be very clear about that. So let's go take these out for a spin. I have actually never driven a Miata, so I'm very excited for this. So something I should clarify, this is more just of a road comparison. We're not gonna see which car is faster. The reality is that would be like the battle of the slowest. I mean, both cars honestly have 120, 130 horsepower at the crankshaft from the factory. So that means odds are these probably have 100 horsepower at the wheel, give or take. Even if the ratings were underrated, I mean, these cars are not the fastest. The point of them is about having fun. We're gonna take off. That's giving it all. That was giving it all the throttle. Oh God. The nice thing about a car like this is you don't have to think about it. You can just mash the throttle constantly. The very definition of a momentum car.
The one downside of this is there's really no armrest.
No, the interior, yeah, it's very Spartan-like, if that makes sense. Although you do have cup holders.
Yeah,
you do.
You can't really use them because if you do, it gets in the way of trying to shift.
Oh yes, it does. Just imagine the bottle there.
Yeah, so you have to go up and over or around, so it gets really awkward at times.
I could see that. I take it back. I thought my car was loud on the highway. This thing beats me all day long. All day. Okay,
that's fair.
We have to yell now.
Okay, fair enough, but I was expecting it to be a lot worse, and it's about like this when you throw the top down too. So, it's not awful. I can live with it.
Yeah, so when you consider it's a roadster, it's expected, but I'm still gonna say that this thing has way more road noise than my MR2.
Also, depending how you look at it, since I need to replace the tires, you can just kind of burn through those or be harsher with them depending on what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Look at that. I could just rev it out and it's nice. But you're right about the tires. They're super cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing has 185s. You can buy that all day long for next to nothing.
Yeah, it's maybe 300 to 400 bucks a set. Maybe
that. I mean, so for my MR2, that runs 195s in the front and 205 in the back. I buy that set all day for $300. I run Federal RSRs, so those are cheap, sticky tires. Not the best thing in the world, but they're good for the money. So you'd be in the same ballpark, 200 to 300.
Yeah.
And that's really important because the car becomes interesting at its limit of grip. And the limits of this are really, they're low, yeah. But you're not gonna get yourself into trouble. So now, We're gonna go through this old twisty road again. Ooh. How's she feel? Oh my God, she has a surprise. Oh, yeah, we won't say how fast we're going there, but dang, look at that. Wow. Oh my God, I see the appeal. The engine is so wow. The engine there is so freaking peppy. As soon as I hit the throttle, I can feel the power, and admittedly, it's not a lot, but like, I can feel that power band up top, of course.
It's enough to have fun, though.
It's enough to have fun. There's a lot of body roll. I'm not gonna hate on that too much because it's expected, but this car is really well balanced because this is my first time ever driving one. And I honestly feel like if we were on a closed course, I could push this car, and the big thing is consistently drive it at the limit. Be honest, did I scare you a little bit back there?
A little bit. I was like, man, he's really going like, even like I'm like, yeah, even I wouldn't like go that hard. I mean,
but the thing is, so I gotta say this. I probably should have gone slower. It was stupid of me. I always try to keep it under control on the streets,
yeah.
But the car is just so easy to drive at the limit. It does help that I've been doing autocrossing and stuff for a few years, and I've driven faster cars, but it's good. It's good, man. I think I got a pretty good feel of this car, so we're gonna go drive my MR2 now. First thing we notice about the MR2, there is so much more space in this car.
Yeah, I mean, actually true.
There's no cup holders. The Miata has that on the MR2, but
your car has armrests.
There's armrests. It is a little bit bigger. Clutch is really easy though. That's expected. I do have an OE replacement clutch in here as the car is stock. The other thing I noticed is that this car soaks up the bumps a lot better than his Miata. I will kind of attribute that to the fact that his car has older suspension. I don't want to say it's necessarily blown, but I think it's fair to say that it's well worn.
You're right, this is really a lot smoother.
It is a lot smoother. So right now we're going over, we're taking the same course that we took in the Miata. So one of these roads that we're on is very rough. And this car, yes, it's bumpy, yes, it's slightly rough, but it's not literally making us jump up in the seats. My back's not gonna hate me tomorrow. Now in terms of the shifting, the throws are actually a lot longer on this car, and it's not as notchy in comparison to his car. Still super easy to put it into gear though. Now the steering feel is actually really, really good in this too. So in this car, it's a manual rack, so I absolutely feel everything that's happening. Communicates great. The downside to this is because I have a manual rack, the steering is so much slower. So in the Miata, you know, a half turn makes a huge difference versus a half turn here, significantly less. If I could have the steering ratio of the Miata with the feel of this, I would be super happy. I do want to say though, the steering feel in the Miata is fantastic. There's nothing wrong about that. So we're gonna get on the highway now. Again, same route as we did before, and we're gonna gun it to kind of see that power difference, or how the power comes on. That's a better way to put it, because the power or horsepower rating is very similar in these cars. And we're off. In terms of straight line speed, they're both about the same. How'd you feel?
This one felt a bit torquier.
All right. This is giving it all the sauce here. Now we're going to slow it down. I think you're right. This car has a little bit more torque to it. One of the nice things about this car is the fact that as soon as it starts to rotate, you can typically start to lay on the throttle. Very lightly though. It's important to understand that with the MR layout, the back of the car is actually a lot more sensitive. So if you're in a FR layout like Jesus has in his Miata, lifting on the throttle or anything like that It's not going to be as sensitive, and you can typically get away with it. There is the other fact that his car has a short wheelbase, so it is snappy. So it's not, everything's not black and white. I think overall, obviously, I mean, I'm very biased with this, but the MR2 is a fun car. Handles the corners good, has a little bit more space than the Miata, feels torquier. I will say I do like the quicker rack on the Miata though. It's also nice how accessible the performance is on that car. Because admittedly the MR layout is a little bit harder to drive at the limit, I think, for a novice. And people are gonna bring up the fact, oh, snap oversteer. Snap oversteer is a little ridiculous. It's not a prominent issue with the MR2. First of all, it's people don't know how to drive. Second of all, it's actually lift-off oversteer. Because what commonly happens is someone goes into a corner too fast, they get scared, and then they lift. Because the engine's in the back, mixed with the short wheelbase of the car, it causes it to rotate very fast, faster than most people are able to catch. I do want to emphasize though, I'm not dissing on people who spin their cars out. I regularly track my cars, and I have spun them dozens upon dozens of times. That's just the nature of the beast when you're pushing your limits.
To be fair, I've spun out a front-wheel drive car on accident.
Yeah, I've done it too. It happens to all of us. I think that's the big thing. If you're going to push the car, do your best to take it to the track. So now, what do we think about these cars? Well, we didn't really test the braking, so we'll ignore that. In terms of handling and suspension, I think my car feels better over the bumps and stuff, but if you just, you know, rebuild your suspension, some new like dampeners or shocks and springs or something like that, replace the bushings, I think it'll be good. In terms of performance, like if you're going to take it on a spirited drive, I actually think the Miata is going to be better for your average person just because the performance is easier to access. I will say though, I'm very biased. I'm still going to pick MR2 any day of the week.
Fair enough. I think if I'm passenger seat, MR2 is fun, but if I'm driving, I would go with the Miata.
Now, the other thing is space. The MR2 is actually bigger. I mean, both cars are small, but the MR2, you actually have a armrest, but the Miata has cup holders. Although that could be easily fixed. There's guys, or on eBay, there's this aftermarket cup holder that you could buy for like $10 for the MR2. I guess the question is, which car would we choose? Well, I think we already answered that, because when I was looking to buy a car, I could have bought a Miata, but I chose the MR2. When you were looking, you considered the MR2, but you went with the Miata.
Yeah.
I don't think we...
I mean, because the MR2s I was looking at were the third gen MR2s, which I know are pretty underloved for what they are.
Yeah, they are. I think they are underappreciated. So, I don't think we have a good answer as to which one's better. I guess it comes down to personal preference, but I know a way we can settle this.
What's that?
At the track.
Yeah, next time there's that opportunity.
Next time there's a track opportunity, we're going to take them in the twisties, or not the twisties, we'll take it to an autocross. I think that's a good equalizer, because it is more, actually that's more about driver skill. But
it takes into account both.
I guess it does take driver skill, but it also takes the handling characteristics into account. So we're going to take it autocrossing, and we'll see, but they're both good cars, so if you buy one or the other, you're not losing out. With that being said, guys, tell us what you think in the comments section, because I don't think we came to a hard decision there, at least for us, or a concrete decision. So we'll see you guys in the next video.